this evening of February 11th of 2025. We appreciate your attendance, those who are here with us in the building, and also those who have joined us online. We'll begin our meeting tonight. I'll turn the time over to Councilmember Dowpaz. I believe he has a special guest that will lead us in either an invocation, thought, and then the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilmember Dowpaz.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. So I've invited Kyle Duncan, who's a North Ogden resident, to join us and give us a thought. Kyle, go ahead and come up here, and I'm going to make a little bit of an introduction of kind of where you've been over the last 20-ish years, because I think it's a really awesome background that you have. So Kyle Duncan is a North Ogden resident as of 2021, so fairly new to us. He served 21 years in the Army, ending at the rank of Lieutenant Colonel. Kyle holds a bachelor's degree from UVU. He graduated from the U.S. Army Command and General Staff College and holds an MBA from Webster University out of St. Louis, Missouri. Some of Kyle's positions that he held within the Army as an officer consisted of Black Hawk Helicopter Air Ambulance Team Leader, Black Hawk Helicopter Platoon Leader, Unmanned Aircraft Operator, Program Manager, Executive Officer and Assistant Chief of Staff for Planning and Aviation. In 2008, Kyle deployed to Iraq in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom, where he earned a Bronze Star in meritorious service in a combat zone. Kyle later deployed to Afghanistan in support of Operation Enduring Freedom. Kyle's service took him to such places as Iraq, Afghanistan, South Korea, the state of Missouri, Arizona, and Georgia. Kyle has been married to his wife Tamara for 24 years. They have 4 children, and those children span the ages 13 to 23, 2 boys and 2 girls. So Kyle, I'm going to turn it over to you to give us a thought and/or invocation, and then after lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay, I can start out with an invocation if we'd like to bow our heads. Father in heaven, we are grateful for our city, its residents, beauty and resources we enjoy here in northern Utah. We are grateful for volunteers, our mayor, our city council, and bless us this evening when we can coordinate and plan the spirit of friendship, family, to improve our community and care for the needs of all citizens. These things we say in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
A quick thought I had for each of us, just a life lesson when expectations don't exactly meet reality. There are several times within the realm of our current state that the first instinct is when our reality and our expectations don't meet, that we slouch down in defeat, complain with how things are going, and quit. This was always evident as a former accident investigation for aviation in light of a few things that are going on in the United States. I can relate to some of those investigators. We used to have some big orders from the Department of Defense, from the Pentagon, and thinking that we would be well cared for when going to another country or where there was an accident, thinking we would be treated well, supported, and helped in all that we did. And so many times, my team of investigators with a lot of equipment would show up somewhere with late flights, nobody picking us up, nobody caring for us, and my team would become very frustrated and mad. Where is my support? Where is our help? How come I'm not getting what I need done? And instead of stopping what we were doing and giving up and being angry, we would change our expectations. We would change the way we were thinking, and we would get back to work and do our best to get the things that we needed to get done. One of the things that we learned was that complaining and quitting never get us anywhere. The best thing we can do is change our attitudes, inspire others to change their attitudes. And when things don't go our way or what we wanted, reevaluate your expectations. There is a saying we used to use: expectation versus reality trap can be managed in 6 steps. Set realistic expectations, practice mindfulness, stop, think, relax, calm down. Cultivate adaptability. What's ever present as a constant is always change. Seek support from others, learn from disappointment, and redefine your expectations. Write them down, get a clear picture of the impacts, and this helps us understand the difference between our expectations and our reality and find a way to match them. I just wanted to share that to you as a thought. Success is not always the way things go. Failure is always there, but I think the biggest mistake we make is not realizing that failure is always more prevalent than success. We just keep trying until we succeed. Thank you very much. So if I can, everybody stand, please. We'll start with a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty, and justice for all. Thank you.
Thanks, Kyle.
Thank you.
Kyle, thank you very much and welcome to North Ogden. We're glad you're here with us. Hopefully you'll join us as often as you can. We have a little presentation tonight and we are honored to have our new chair of our Planning Commission with us, Commissioner Nan Carroll. Thank you for your service and thanks for being with us tonight and your service to our city. Tonight, I'd like to recognize two individuals who have served diligently, I think for at least 10 years, if not longer, who have made a difference in our city. And, 10 years is a long time for service. I'm a little bit baffled because Eric Thomas' wife has contacted me and she says, what am I going to do on Wednesday nights now when he's home? And has asked us to come up with a solution. So we have a challenge there. But actually, Eric has plenty to do. He keeps himself busy. So at this point in time, I would like, Eric, for you to come up and maybe Commissioner Nan Carroll, you could come up and take Brandon's plaque.
Perfect.
I'd like Eric to present this to you in recognition of your service and dedication to North Ogden City.
Thank you.
Sincerely, thank you.
Thank
for
you.
Your commitment to the city and all you've done. Just a little card. Thank you very much.
Been 4 mayors, so good job.
A long time.
I'm a patient guy. So would you like to take a half hour and make some comments?
Yeah, you want me to extend the meeting?
Not really,
Just
but
thanks
you're
for the time. I enjoyed serving North Ogden. I've been a resident my whole life and appreciate the time that council spends in here. Like I said, it's been 4 mayors and numerous council members and planning commissioners as I've got the opportunity to serve on the planning commission and be part of a lot of different, I think 3 general plans and different things with the city. So it's been enjoyable. I'm glad I've been able to have the ability to contribute, hopefully, and it's been, well, we have a great city and I'm proud of it and I'm proud of where it's going. Thank you. Yeah. Neighborhood's gone to pot, but
Yeah,
hey.
ever since I moved in. right?
Yep.
Commissioner Nan Carroll, if you would get with Commissioner Mason. and
I
thank him for
absolutely
his
will.
Service or whoever sees him, and we're sorry he can't attend tonight, but please accept our sincere thank you. for your
Okay.
work
Thank
well
you.
done. We look forward
he-
to working.
Oh, thank you.
with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move now into our consent agenda. Council, as usual, our great city recorder has given you the agenda and attachments well in advance. And so I would ask at this point in time, if you have anything you'd like to disclose at this point in time in regards to any items on the agenda that may be a conflict. I see none. We will move on now to item number 2 on our consent agenda, and this is a discussion or action to approve the January 14th, 2025 City Council meeting minutes. Do we have such a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Councilmember Dowpaz. Do we have a second?
A second.
Thank you, Councilmember Severing. Any further discussion or additional corrections that need to be communicated to Ryan? Okay, then, all in favor of approving those minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? I see none opposed. Okay, motion passes unanimously. Our next item is a discussion or action to approve the conditional acceptance of the subdivision improvements at Mountain Valley Villas Phase 2. I believe the next item is the conditional acceptance of the subdivision improvements at Mountain Valley Villas Phase 3. Dylan?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Yep. The first item is Mountain Valley Villas Phase 2. This is a 10-lot subdivision from 2021. The improvements included sewer, storm drain, water, sidewalks, streetlights, and a private detention pond on the corner there. They got a letter in April of 23 detailing the outstanding items, and finally got the storm drain inlets, slurry seal and striping done. So all the improvements are to the city codes and standards, and it is the recommendation to approve conditional status for this subdivision and start the 1-year warranty period.
Council, any questions for Dylan, for Mr. Hill? Seeing none, do we have a motion then to approve the conditional acceptance of the subdivision?
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the conditional acceptance of Mountain Valley Villas Phase 2.
Thank you, Councilmember Barker. Is there a second to his motion?
Second.
Thank you, Councilmember Pulver. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, please say aye. Don't see any objections. So we'll classify the motion as passing unanimously. On to item number 4, which is Mountain Valley Villas Phase 3.
So we just go a little further to the east and we go to Mountain Valley Villas Phase 3. They had the same improvements, water, sewer, storm drain, streetlights, and sidewalk. This went through about 5 different revisions, different cul-de-sacs before they ended with this one. Same problems getting the catch basins changed out. They got those done, and additionally, there's $11,634 additional dollars to the 10% because of a temporary turnaround that will need to be removed. So that'll be held in escrow as well. But all the improvements are to the city codes and standards, and it is the recommendation for conditional acceptance for those improvements and to start the 1-year warranty process.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. Are there any questions for Dylan? Councilmember Dalpas?
I see that there's the power lines running through there. Are any problems with that? I know we had some problems in one of the other nearby neighborhoods with that factoring into how lots had to be the special designation or whatever it's called.
I don't believe we've had any problems with the power lines or the setbacks in this subdivision. So maybe the future one that connects the Hall Orchard to this, that problem, but not in this.
You're talking about our lots?
Our lots,
Councilmember?
our lots, yes.
Yeah, nothing
problem.
that we know of.
Councilmember Pulver, did you have a
Um,
question?
Just on the turnaround, you're holding the 11 grand in escrow if they, I mean, is there a timeline for that? I guess. I mean, so I know the conditional segment is for a year, then they get whatever is in escrow, but for that turnaround, what is the timeline for that?
So we had many meetings with the developer and city staff, and I think it was going to be worked out between. You can correct me if I'm wrong, John, but between the property up in that corner to be responsible to take that out. Am I right?
Yeah, there's a final phase that'll go in right in this area council, which will then have the road punched through to the north and then clean this up as part of that. So
Okay, so I mean, really, in reality, it probably won't matter, but I guess if in a year happens and it doesn't happen, then we just take that money and do it ourselves, essentially, right?
Yeah, we'd have to go through the escrow process to do that. Hopefully they can figure it out before then. Roger that. Okay, thanks.
All right, any other questions for Mr. Hill? I am not seeing any. Could we have a motion then to accept the conditional acceptance of the subdivision improvements as stated?
Mayor, I move that we approve the conditional acceptance of subdivision improvements at Mountain Valley Villas, Phase 3.
Thank you, Councilmember Severing. Is there a second to that
Second.
motion? Thank you, Councilmember Pulver. Any further discussions or questions? I see none, then all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? I see none. The motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Hill. We always appreciate you being with us. Come back again. Okay, the next item here will be a discussion on an action to consider waiving the city code violation for fines and
Mayor.
tolls.
Public comments.
Oh, I always forget public comments. Thanks for the reminder. Any public comments? Anyone like to comment this evening? If you do, please step up to the podium, state your name, and if you're a resident of North Ogden, and please limit your comments to no longer than 5 minutes.
My name is Jennifer Keeney. I'm a resident of North Ogden, and public speaking makes me very nervous, so please bear with me. I'm here to ask for changes to be made regarding the crosswalk at the intersection of Washington Boulevard and Alberta Drive. In my experience, it is the scariest and most dangerous part of my walks. I'm an avid walker with a bad habit of sticking to one route, meaning I cross this intersection every other day and have done so hundreds of times over the past 3 years. The first few times I was nearly hit by a car, I figured that I had done something wrong. Maybe I wasn't visible enough or had made some other mistake as a pedestrian. So I changed. I bought bright, visible clothes that would be hard to miss. I made sure to only go on my walks when the sun was out. I reviewed pedestrian safety tips and started making eye contact with drivers at the lights. Yet still, I'm having near weekly close calls while crossing that crosswalk. Just yesterday, I was nearly hit twice. Once from a driver turning right and the other head-on from a driver turning left. These were within seconds of each other and only avoided because I was paying attention to my surroundings. Even after pressing the button at the crosswalk in broad daylight where I was fully visible to traffic, I still came close to suffering a fate that I would rather not imagine. But yesterday's experience isn't a one-off. It's a very real and regular occurrence at this particular intersection. I am tired that the relief I once felt going for my walks has been replaced with dread. I am tired of my hands shaking as I press the pedestrian call button. I am tired of holding my breath as I cross the road, only letting it out once I have made it to the other side safely. I am tired that ignorant and neglectful drivers are on the road and that my life is in their hands. I feel strongly that there need to be changes made to the lights at this intersection, particularly for those turning left and heading northbound on Washington Boulevard. I want to feel safe in this city. And that's all I have for you. Thank you. Thank you.
Excellent, by the way. Good job. I'm going to ask Dave, you to take a look at it and see what can be done. But in the meantime, Lieutenant Boyette, I would ask for some additional patrol because I believe if she's in the crosswalk, she has the right of way, right? So if we could maybe, I know you've got a lot of things going, but if we could patrol that, sometimes education is the best. But Dave, if you would come back, Ryan, if you'd put this on our follow-up list of what we could do to maybe increase that. I know that there's a plan to extend the road up further, and I believe there's a light replacement as part of that. John, is that correct, or am I dreaming?
That's correct, Mayor.
Okay, so, but in the meantime, let's, we want our citizens to be safe, and you did an excellent job. You should go into public speaking. So thank you. Anyone else this evening who would like to comment? Jason?
Mine's not quite as dramatic as that, but I'm Jason Hadley from Harrisville, but I belong and am a member of our North Ogden City Community Band. And last time I was here, we gave an update that talked about things that went on during the summer. I thought I'd give you a little update of some things that went on during Christmas because ours was just right around the Christmas season. We had a wonderful Christmas concert that took place at the Senior Center, and we had I would say approximately 100, 150 people there. So it wasn't too bad. I know Christmas time is a hard time for people to get out and have events, but those that are looking for places to go, it's always nice to know that there's things that are happening in the city for that. So we're looking forward to another great year. And I just want to know, and if any of you can give me feedback on this, we're in need of just a few things. And one of those is we've had banners that I think had been provided in the past, and we've tried to make the banners that we've had go as long as they possibly can. And we've taken and pasted over the top of old dates and things like that. But we're wondering if there's any way that we might be able to get new banners that can be used for our concert. And I think we had 6 banners before, and we're looking to try and have the same. And then just if there's a way that we can communicate the performances that we do have scheduled through the city newsletter or even on the website, I would just love to know how I would go about doing that.
I would suggest you get with our outstanding city recorder, Ryan, and she kind of has some input on the calendar. I think it'd be okay to put that on the calendar. And I think we also have an events portion of our newsletter. So I think with adequate notification, it'd be okay for us to do that. So that would be my suggestion. I think on the banners, basically what's historically happened, and we'd be happy to support a application for a ramp grant
Okay.
to do those. If you'd like to speak with Mr. Call, he's our ramp
Perfect.
grant expert. There, I think that some time ago, and I haven't been around that long, but I think there was a commitment from the band that they would not seek city funds,
Yes.
but that they would use grants and things of that nature. So we're happy to help there and support.
Perfect. We just needed that information. So thank you so very much. And we look forward to helping to represent the city well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else this evening who would like to comment? Anyone online, John, that has their hand raised?
Nope.
All right, we'll move on then from item number 5, which is public comments. Thank you, council, for reminding me. I'm getting in the habit of overseeing that. So we'll move on to item number 6. And before we do, I just want to acknowledge how we'll vote tonight, which order. We'll start with Councilmember Dalpaz, and we'll work our way down this way. So with that, I think we have the owner of Fizz here, Todd Coleman, who would like to comment. And council, if you have any questions, you can surely ask him while he's here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm sorry that I'm with you tonight under these circumstances, but we made a couple of mistakes, and just wanted to, I guess this is the process, to be here tonight and maybe explain the situation and see if there might be a different resolution. I am the owner of Fizz here in North Ogden. My wife, my younger brother, and his wife are the co-owners there. If I understand right, you may not have all the background on this, so I'll just give you the quick 30,000 view and then let you fill in with questions if you have them. So my goal here is just to make sure we all have an understanding of what happened and why I'm here and what I'm asking for. And hopefully I'll be quick so you can get on to more important things tonight. Many years ago, right out of college, my first real job was a sales rep for Young Electric Sign Company. And as part of my job, once we had secured a contract with a business who needed new signs, I would be the one to go into the cities and secure a sign permit and all the drawings and so forth that my company had provided, and then get the signs installed on the buildings. So through those years I spent with Young Electric Sign Company, one thing that I learned was that when a sign package is presented and the permits are filled out, that menu signs are never included in the total sign package. The total sign package usually consists of a building sign, a monument sign, something along those lines. And there's rules about how big those signs can be based upon square footage or frontage or things like that. But the menu signs were never included in that because it's part of what the customers are ordering off of. So when we purchased the Fizz location down the street, 2 years ago, we were all obviously perplexed as to why they had 2 drive-through lanes and only 1 menu sign. It didn't make a lot of sense. So we knew at some point we'd need to pursue a second sign to help the drive-through be more efficient. When we finally had some funds saved up for that, I petitioned the property owner, provided them a little a schematic drawing of what this new proposed drive-through lane would look like with the new sign. They approved it, and going off of 30 years ago experience with Young Electric Sign Company, made the assumption that it would not be required to get a permit for that. So I proceeded with the work. We poured a small curb and gutter in the middle of that, bolts and all the necessary components for this, and then proceeded. It was a short time after that that we were notified through North Ogden City in the mail that we had violated that sign ordinance. We didn't secure a permit, and we were assessed a $250 fine. So with that, North Ogden City was gracious enough to give us they gave us 6 months from what we could tell until the second notice showed up to go and find somebody that would maybe provide the plans, drawings, everything so that we could submit that. So when I got the first notice of a $250 fine, I immediately got on your website, located the sign permit, and saw what was required. And my biggest concern and fear was trying to find somebody who would provide plans now that the concrete had been poured, the electrical had been, which was hired out by an electrical contractor. All that work was done and buried. So trying to find somebody who would agree to create drawings retroactively that way was very difficult. So in full transparency, during that time that I realized this is going to be a huge uphill battle to get this information, with the other stores that we're managing and just life in general, it did not stay on my radar. And so about from the time, let's see my timeline, from August 6th to about December 17th, I was ineffective in communicating with your city on a resolution to that. So December 17th, we received a second notice that now we'd been assessed a second fine of $1,000 for not having completed that work and getting it submitted. Obviously, by design, that got my attention, and I jumped right back on this. By December 23rd, we had completed the online sign permit, and I was able to secure some drawings that were sufficient enough to get through the city. After I'd submitted the sign permit, I didn't hear anything back from the city. I didn't even know if it had been acknowledged or had been received. I was kind of waiting for further instruction. I called the city on January 2nd, 2 times, left voicemails asking for further guidance, like what are the next steps? I'm looking for how do we complete this process? I didn't receive any communication from the city until about a month later. The end of January, it hit my radar again. I saw a sticky note on my desk and said, "Where's your sign permit?" So I reached back out to the city and asked for clarification. At that point, I was notified that the sign permit had been approved, but they would not issue it until we had paid the fines. So at that point, I came down to the next day, I came down to the city, spoke with the building department, had a good conversation. I learned even more. And as part of that process, I was asking if they would be lenient on the secondary fine and allow us to just pay the first original fine. I was told that the process for that went all the way to here. That's why I'm here tonight. So that's really, in a sense, what happened. There's additional details as to why I'm a little passionate about this and really hoping that the city would forego that secondary fine and allow us just to pay the first fine. So that's in general the situation that's brought me here tonight. What questions do you have that I can help you understand?
Council, do you have some questions for Todd, Mr. Coleman? I'm not seeing any, but I would like to I think we have our building department folks here. I'd like to hear from them, make sure that the council has a full picture. Whatever the decision is, Mr. Coleman, let me take the opportunity to thank you. We're grateful Fizz is in our city. And we hope that it's a successful venture for you and your partners. And so thank you very much for considering having a Fizz in North Ogden. If there's no questions for you further, maybe we could just hear from Nate, who's our building department head, and or Colleen, whoever, if they would like to add any additional information before I turn to the council. Do you want to come up?
I would take off my hat, but none of you would know me. So my hat's gonna stay on. I'm not as brave as Eric. So, so the Fizz location, they didn't have a permit at the time of their sign. And when Todd came in and asked how this happens, I said, if you weren't such a fruitful business, nobody would know. And that's part of, that's a real answer. There's a lot of things that happen that some people don't know. This sign, as I know, in the code section 1122 of 7 of the North Ogden City does have a code for our sign. A menu board is part of that. That would come from the planning department to confirm that, but I'm pretty sure it's pretty close. The sign's got electrical in it. That's what would require the other portion of the building permit. The electrical that goes from the sign to wherever that electrical landed was never seen, never inspected. And so the first fine was issued saying you've done work without a building permit. And then it sat. And then it was asked, do we go to the next level? Because there was no communication that we knew of between the two fines, the first one and the second one, from August to December. But as soon as that other one hit, then a few days later, communication started.
Okay.
So
Any questions? Sounds like they're, oh,
Just one, I
Councilman
mean,
Pulver?
so in any, just any case of fines for building permits, period. I mean, if you find something that, I mean, either it's red tagged or you start imposing fines, right? I mean, there's not really a gray area in something like that because you've said to do something to your house or shed or something. And if they don't, then it's either an ordinance change or you get a fine, pretty much.
correct.
Okay.
Correct. And some of this conversation that we're having today is part of that conversation you had last week in your work session on how you would like us as staff to do that code enforcement item, right? What level of things and activity do you want to see and how do you want to see it done? And this is a great example of one, in my opinion. So anything?
Any questions? Okay, Nate, I
Okay.
guess you're
Appreciate
good.
you.
Council, the issue on the table this evening is a motion to either approve waiving the city code violation fine imposed by Fizz on Fizz Drinks for failure to obtain a building permit or to waive the fee. Do we have a motion? Councilmember Pulver.
Just point of clarification, all fees or just the $1,000 fee?
I think he's asking for the $1,000 fee or a reduction to $999 or something of that nature. Yeah, I believe that he's asking to have the second fee waived. And I'm not sure I quite understood the basis for that, other than it was hard to get somebody to give drawings, et cetera, after a long period of time. Yeah. What's the basis you're requesting the waiver on?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you for asking. So one of my concerns was, and this is probably difficult for me to express this without feeling like I'm pointing fingers at anybody or throwing somebody under the bus. I take personally full responsibility for the lack of communication back to the city. There's no question that was on me, and that's my responsibility. Because of that, there was assessed a secondary fine. What I also feel like is important to understand is that I feel like it's important that the communication is recognized as a two-way street. So after we submitted our signed permit, There was a long period of time after I'd reached out to the city and asked for communication. I called the city, I left a voicemail, and then I called back and left another message for the building department, of which they didn't get back to me for another month. So
Yeah, this was after the issuance of the second letter on the fine, right? This was,
that's correct.
I think you mentioned January.
Yes,
So that was after the issuance of the fine, right?
that's correct. Yeah, so the two
Uh,
fines had been imposed.
yeah.
And then we got on it again, got the sign permit submitted. And then after that, it was about a week after I'd submitted the sign permit, I was looking for further communication. I didn't know what the next steps were. There was no acknowledgement that the city even had my sign permit application, and just was looking for further information so that we didn't get assessed more fines.
So I'm just a little bit confused. That has to do with the issuance of the fine. That seemed to occur after. And I agree that we want to have as great a communication and back and forth as we have.
Yeah.
That we can. Two-way street is really important, no
Yeah.
doubt about it.
Yeah,
But I'm just trying to think in my mind what that delay in response, because there was no additional fines issued, right? After that first part of January, and then you didn't hear back for 3 or 4 weeks.
that's right.
There
So
was no
the-
additional fine, right?
No, the second fine of $1,000 came on December 17th. So it was after
So-
December 17th, we initiated the sign permit application. That was December 23rd. And then following the application being submitted, it wasn't until January 2nd, so after the holidays, that I called the city asking for further information. Did you get the sign permit? Do you have the information? Nothing. I didn't know anything. So I left a message on January 2nd for the building department asking for instructions on what to do next. And then nobody from the building department returned my phone calls until we get to the end of January. January 28th, I initiated a call myself to the city, again, asking for further information.
Todd, did you initiate any calls in that 4 or 5 month period between the issuance of the first fine and the issuance of the second fine? Did you make any effort for communication with our planning and building
I
department?
did not. I just, with the letter that we'd received about the fine, I didn't get back in touch with the city. I just went right to the website and went through the sign permit application to see what was going to be required.
But no communication between
None.
August, or when the first $250 fine and the 1,000,
That's correct.
correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
So, okay, what questions may you have for Todd? Councilmember
Actually,
Dowd?
just discussion, no question for Todd.
Okay. Thank you, Todd.
You got it.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Appreciate
you
you
for your
coming to
time.
visit with us. And once again, thanks for being a business in North Ogden. Okay, council, let me just, Councilmember Dalpaz, do you have some comments?
I don't know what motion is going to be made, but I would just express that I am not supportive of waiving the $250 or the $1,000. And I feel for them. I mean, I wouldn't want to have to pay that. But I feel like it's justified and it's fair considering the length of time that it took to get it resolved on their end.
And Todd, let me just, I don't know what motion will be made here either. But, one of the things we always have to consider, and I think this is important for the public to know, is, we want to be as friendly as we can, but the problem we have is we start setting precedents. And we have no way for the next person that may violate the ordinance. It doesn't give us anything really to stand on. So one of the things we do have to consider is how do we address this issue on an ongoing basis? Because you won't be the only one that's had this problem, nor the one that'll have it in the future. So any other comments? I am seeing none. So I will call for a motion at this point in time to either approve or deny waiving the city code violation fine imposed on Fizz Drinks for the failure to obtain a building permit. Councilmember Dalpaz?
Mayor, I motion that we deny this request to forego the $1,250 fine. So That's my motion.
Okay, do we have a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Pulver. Is there any further discussion on the issue? Councilmember Pulver?
I do have a question. And it's more process than anything else. So after the $1,000 was imposed, what I was trying to skim through and not doing it fast enough. The next step after that is what?
Mr. Call?
Is it another month? Is it 2 months?
It would continue to be additional fines. There's not a specific time in our code.
Okay.
It just says it'd be $1,000 each additional offense.
But it doesn't say when.
Councilmember
Along
Watson?
those same lines, was there communication about when the 1,000 would be fined after the 250?
But it was that date.
So in August, they got the first fine. Did they know when the next fine would be?
I don't think our notice says, hey, the next fine will
Okay,
be in 2
and
months.
do we
or-
have like a consistent pattern there of when the next fine is?
I think we leave that up to the discretion of the enforcing official.
Yeah, it seems like from August to December is quite a bit of time.
Yeah, it's, 4, 5 months, 4 months.
We're merciful to try to give them time to help. Okay, Councilmember Watson, you have
I
another?
just wanted to
comment?
say one other thing. I support our staff who work really hard and who, put a lot of time towards these things. And it's certainly not in their job description to keep nagging. That's something that I don't like doing as a parent. But I do wonder if by chance there was a phone call that said, hey, next month you're going to be getting your next fine, or hey, next week you're going to be getting your next fine. Just want to give you a heads up that that's coming. If that would have changed anything here, just a thought, I guess.
Okay. All right, thank you. Councilmember Severing?
Well, to answer Councilwoman Watson's thought, there was on the August 6th, the fine is due and payable no later than September 6th.
Oh, that's right. So they did give them some time.
But then we didn't get, Todd, if I've written this down correctly, the application was not entered into until December 23rd.
Pull up my timeline here. Okay, can you repeat that, Councilman
Well,
Severing?
so you said, I wrote down the timeline of dates. So the August 6th actually just said that the fine is due and payable no later than September 6th. But you didn't get the application actually completed until December 23rd.
That's correct.
Okay.
Mhm. Yeah.
You
So-
know, Todd, it is hard, and I hate to see these kinds of things happen because the merciful side of me says, "Oh man, I know how busy life can get." But we have had over the last probably year more than I remember on the council for the previous maybe 6 or 7 years, where we've had to levy fines because serious building permits were not obtained in advance. And so again, not knowing exactly where the vote is going to go, but just expressing my thoughts about, building permit is pretty serious, especially knowing the idea that we have to make sure that those who are the inspectors have looked at it, made sure everything's been properly done. So thank you for being here. Appreciate your honesty.
Yeah. And if I might add just one point of clarification. So the gist of where my request was coming from was I obviously did not respond to North Ogden City in a timely manner after the first fine was issued of $250. I make no request to not pay that. I will happily pay that. That's on me. What I'm trying to point out is that there was an example from the city where if I had the ability to, there was no communication after I had reached out to the city saying, please help me understand what happens next. I left a voicemail. I'd be able to document that, but then the city failed to respond back to me with any information. So to your point, I agree with you. Nagging should not be one of the things that the city has to do. But where I did make an effort and it's documented that I reached out to the city saying, please tell me what the next steps are. The question that will never be answered now is how long would I have waited after I had submitted the signed permit and made the request to the city, please tell me what I need to do next. There was no communication back to me saying this is the next steps or what you need to do. So to your question or to your point, how long would we have waited before the city decided to assess a third fine to me with no communication, where I had reached out saying, please tell me, what do I need to do next to get this done? So my point is I didn't communicate to the city and I got $1,000 fine. The city didn't communicate to me and I still got $1,000 fine. So I'm just asking for that type of leniency. I'll pay the 250 because I know I screwed that up. But as far as the communication goes, it looks like there was a breakdown on your side as well as my side. And that was where my request originated.
Yeah, Todd, I'm still confused. It seems like the breakdown in communication was after you received the $1,000 fine. There was no communication, if I understood you right, I just want to make sure I do, between that August 6th and the December issuance of the second fine.
You're exactly right.
Okay,
Yeah.
just wanted to
so
clarify
it's
that.
Just a simple example of how,
Yeah.
there was a breakdown in communication on both sides. And I'm just asking for a little leniency on the second fine only. That's all.
Thank you.
So, thanks.
All right, council, we have a motion on the table here. Is there any further questions or discussion? We'll start with you, Councilmember Dalpaz. The motion is to deny the waiver, I believe,
Yeah, my vote is yes.
to deny the waiver. Councilmember Pulver,
Yes.
Councilmember Watson,
Yes.
Councilmember Severing,
Yes.
Councilmember Barker.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously to deny waiver of the fee. We appreciate your efforts and I'll make sure I drive by more to get the profits up. So thank you very much. Okay, we will now go on to item number 7. This is a discussion regarding the 2023-2024 fiscal year audit. With the assistance of our finance director, Jamie Jones. This discussion will be led by our audit committee chair, Ryan Barker, who conducted the audit committee meeting when the auditors came, and they did make a full presentation to the committee. So Councilmember Barker, I'll turn the time to you. And I'll
Well,
turn it to Jamie.
I told Jamie I can give a real good, quick explanation of the audit. It was good. We had a good opinion. I mean, I think we had had a no fault opinion, or they had one finding. But we'll let Jamie just explain more, because a firefighter and an auditor are not the same position in.
Okay, Jamie, give us your executive overview.
Council, can you hear me?
Mhm.
Okay, good. We'll start with the general fund. Overall, the general fund did really well. Our revenues came in about 5% over projected, and our expenditures came under budget about 2.5%. So our original fund balance when we started the year was at 31%, and we ended at 28%. The goal pretty much, I don't know if it's set, but the goal was 25%, and we ended up at 28%, or 3.2 million. So I think all of the departments did really well to cover their budget. And we didn't have to do any sort of final budget amendment there towards the end of the year. However, like what Ryan was alluding to, the one finding was for the aquatic center. That budget did come in 10% over budget, which that was mainly due to the chemicals and utilities. And those are really hard to control towards the end of the year. So that was our one finding that they had. And then for the utility funds, I'm up to that page. For the utility funds in our operations, the water fund did come under, okay, I didn't know. We did have a loss in the water fund and also in the stormwater fund. Most of that is due to depreciation. However, if you recall last year during the budget season, we made rate adjustments to address the depreciation issue. So hopefully we've made that correction this year for this coming up year. And I think, in my opinion, I think that the council's done a really great job of addressing those issues and turning around this whole depreciation, what am I gonna say, debacle that we've had for the last few years. So I think we're headed in the right direction. So overall, I think it was a great year.
Yes.
Sorry, I had to leave, so I just asked him if you'd made the comment about the finding, the one finding.
Yes, about the aquatics.
And okay, thank you. Any other questions, Councilmember Pulver?
Was there one question that went back to the auditor to ask? I'm trying to remember the meeting and I couldn't find in my notes what there was a question or not, but it wasn't. You remember if there was anything that was pending based on that?
I think the question was, why did our obligation on the pension fund
Oh, that's- yeah.
swing so deeply? And I don't know if we've got that answer yet.
Well, so the answer is, it's not really their place to come and talk about their opinion of what's going on with the URS. What their recommendation is that we contact URS and have them come out and present to the council. And
I think that'd be a good idea, honestly, because
Yeah.
that confuses the crap out of me when we don't have to cover it, but yet it's a negative balance. I mean, in my opinion, not my opinion, but my thought process, because to me, if it's something happens, everybody retires tomorrow. I mean, doesn't that have to be funded somehow?
It
So,
does. If
so-
if the city were to go out of business or
yeah,
merge with another city, be annexed in, that would be an obligation. Could change between now and then based upon, service hours and interest rates and things. But who would contact and ask them to come? Would that be you, Jamie?
yeah, I can.
Could you? Yeah, I think that'd be good to maybe in a work session. We get some further definition on that. Thank you, Jamie and Councilmember Barker, for your efforts. We know that takes a lot of work, and I would add, not knowing if you did, Councilmember Barker, the positive comments that came from the auditors about our staff's work. And I've said many times, having been on the other side of that, I understand the amount of work that goes in. So a special thanks to you and your team, Jamie. And I know Mr. Call occasionally voiced his opinion on a few things. So thank you very much. Any other questions? All right, we'll move on to item number 8. This discussion will be led by our city engineer, Mr. Eric Casperson. This is in regards to an action to approve an acreage variance and revocable grading permit for a rock crusher at White Rock Subdivision 4. Eric?
Great. I appreciate the opportunity to come visit with you this evening. It's been requested to temporarily place a rock crusher at White Rock Phase 4 subdivision. This phase is located at approximately 3032 Mountain Road. So the purpose of this rock crusher would be to use it would process aggregate material on site to be used on site. So as the mayor pointed out, this would require a revocable grading permit, which has been applied for, and the applicant has met every requirement except for the acreage, the minimum acreage requirement, which is 50 acres according to our application. The acreage that he's planning to put it on there, I believe is around, I have 9 acres here, but I think that's incorrect. I think it's about 8 acres there. And so there's a couple advantages to having the crusher at this location. One being, or I guess the biggest one being, the lack of trucks on the road. There's a lot of material that is being moved around in these crushing locations to move material to and from the crushers. And a large truck, there's been some I guess, different opinions on the damages that large trucks do to roads. But the fact remains that large trucks do cause a lot of damage compared to vehicles, to passenger vehicles, to roads. How much damage is really up to the opinion of different experiments. The trucks, so if the crusher was not granted the variance, the possibility of having the material moved out of this location, processed, and then brought back would cause the trucks to be on the road twice as much. Versus if the crusher was allowed to be in this location. Another advantage is that material would not be spilled upon the road. We've had some spillage in some locations on Washington Boulevard, Lakeview Drive, of some spillage, and other locations, and so that'd be one advantage of not one advantage of having the crusher located here. A disadvantage of having a crusher in this location is the proximity to residents. The closest resident that I measured was about 450 feet. It's not shown on this map here, but that note that this is not an updated map showing the location of the homes, but there are some homes in kind of that island area there, and then right below, yeah, that area there. The closest one is right just to the corner of that white call out, the storm drain cover. Yeah, there's one right there. That's probably that's the closest one. And so the crusher does cause there is a little bit of vibration, some noise. There is some ways to do that. I've spoken with the applicant, and he's with us here tonight. And he has said that the crusher is a lot quieter than it has been. And so there are some measures that he's taken to quiet it down. Dust is a potential hazard here that can be mitigated through water and water control. So the question to the council tonight is whether or not to grant this variance. I would like to point out that, and just to be fair from all sides, to grant this variance would or could open the door to other variances being asked for crushing activities. So,
how many other potential waivers of this nature, based upon the developments that you know are taking place, would we potentially be talking 1, 2, 5, just a round number?
Yeah, probably between 5 and 10, most likely.
Okay. Eric, I was just wondering, why is the ordinance 50 acres? There obviously must have been a reason. Could you just refresh our memory on what the reasoning was for 50 acres? Is it simply to keep it away from residential, to reduce the noise? What was the thought process of 50 acres?
Yes, 50 acres was to grant enough area that the crusher could be moved in within that location, and be far enough away from all the residents so that they wouldn't be affected by the crusher activities. I will say that the applicant has got acknowledgements from all the neighbors in this location that are living there, that they are aware that the crusher could be coming, and that they acknowledge and are okay with the crusher being there. And I have those on file.
Wasn't there a crusher there previously? Seems like some time ago there was a crusher there.
Yes, I believe this picture does show that crusher there.
Okay. Council, what questions do you have for Mr. Casperson? Councilmember Severing. I mean, Pulver, I'm sorry. I thought,
We do get the same haircut, so I don't know. Anyway, moving on. I guess timeline is one thing. And as a side note, dropping rocks to me, those big boulders that people use to landscape with, to me scares me more than a rock crusher that would just be a normal, low rumble. you know, because every time that happens, it feels like it's coming through my side of my house. But anyway, so I guess that would be the big thing is timeline. And then, you know, is there an agreement? You know, obviously it says all the materials stay on site to avoid any more trucks going back and forth more than that. And if it's a small area, it would be just a limited time, right? And we're not talking 6 months or something. It would be a small timeline or.
I believe so.
Okay.
I would have to refer to the applicant on
Okay.
on that timeline.
But obviously it's, you know, the noise ordinance, nothing has changed from the previous, because we just had a recent rock crushing thing up in,
Correct.
just above me.
North U9.
North of you.
Mhm.
So, I mean, it's not, and that doesn't seem like that was 50 acres, was it?
It was.
Was it?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It was 50 continuous acres.
Okay.
And so, yeah, the applicant had owned all that land up there.
Is that because of phase 9 and 10, or was it phase 9 that was 50 acres alone? Do you remember?
Well, so it's 9 and 10. So this applicant, the only property that is owned by the applicant is just this 9 acres.
Is it the last one?
It's the last one.
Okay.
Correct.
Until the other owner to the south.
But it's different yet.
But
Yeah,
there's
different
no-
owner.
There's no imminent plans yet.
Okay.
Okay, what other questions? Councilmember Watson?
I'd be curious as well how long the crushing lasts. If there's a, you know, just in the month of July so that the residents were aware. I don't know if that was possible. I also appreciated in this document that you included on the packet, the traffic control plan and the safety addressed. Is that something that is in contract or just kind of a hope, a wish? Tell us about that.
Yeah, so the documents that I provided are part of the application. And so the revocable grading permit is administered by myself and the mayor. But it's more on an agreement. And so those documents that were provided are the requirements that we'll enforce. Yes.
Okay, yeah, I guess my only other thought is if, I know, I'm glad that neighbors have already been notified, but if there was a short amount of time that this was going to take place and they could just be aware what days they are, like I learning about the green waste pit and the things that go on there, I think it's really beneficial when the neighbors can know it's only 2 or 3 days or whatever it is, and these are the days that it's going to be, so that if they wanted to leave the dust, you know, same with the water control, if that could be somehow in the contract, that would be beneficial too.
I think those are good points, Councilmember Watson. I will also say, if we start getting complaints from neighbors, whether it's in that subdivision or the subdivision below, we have the right to revoke.
Correct.
Because that's the
Yes.
reason we went for 50 acres, right? Is we didn't want the residents having issues. I don't know if the developer is willing to consider that or not. We'll hear from him in a moment. I would just, council, remind you that there needs to be a specific basis on which you grant this waiver. Otherwise, you're not defensible when anybody else comes in with 5 acres or 6 acres or 7 acres in regards to granting variances against the 50 acres. I think Eric said potential 5 to 10 others that may have the same request. Just pointing that out, I'd like to have, if you decide to make a waiver, which I'm not saying yea or nay should be done. I'm just saying that I think it needs to be specific. Otherwise, you have no basis not to grant waivers to the other 5 or 10. Councilmember Barker.
I got 2 questions. If I remember correctly, this was maybe, I don't know, this was a while ago when we were first on council, myself and Councilmember Severing. Weren't there a lot of complaints about trucks leaving this area, going up and down 1050, 2600 because they were hauling material out?
I believe, yes.
Dave, right? So the reason I would grant this waiver is because if we don't do it, there's going to be a lot of trucks coming and going. And so what's more of a nuisance is all the trucks coming and going, and then we're affecting the whole city. You've already got approval from the neighbors saying that they like it. So that's that's my basis for granting the waiver is it'd be less of a nuisance to do this than to have trucks coming and going.
Which would be the case on every requested waiver, right? That's
Granted. Yep.
That's the basis.
Yep.
So,
And my second question, what is staff recommending that we approve this waiver?
I
Put you on
don't
the hot-
really have a recommendation. I wanted to present this to the council, for your decision. The damage to the road is costly. And so, I don't think I've ever seen a truck that is, underweight. I think they're all
Only when they're
possibly
empty.
overweight.
Yeah.
It never happens.
So, obviously they're going to maximize, right? So the hauling capacity of their trucks. And I don't believe North Ogden, I don't think we enforce a weight control within North Ogden. So.
okay, any other questions for Eric? I think there were a couple questions that maybe the developer could address, if I recall. Would you like to come up and address those?
First of all, I'd like to thank Eric for presenting this to you guys tonight. He's been great to work with through this process. It's just taken us a while. So I can answer any questions now.
Time, excuse me. I think Councilmember Watson, you asked about, is there a specific time frame on which you believe this would be here that we could include in the contract?
So pending weather and, maybe 6 months, but it's not a day-to-day process. The plan is mobile, it's on tracks, so it kind of moves as the guys work their way down the hill.
So would you be accepting if we granted a 6-month waiver and then it could always
Yes.
be renewed? if
Yes.
Necessary?
The other thing I'd like to kind of maybe educate you on, and maybe you care, maybe you don't, but our footprint, our carbon footprint by doing this is cut 92%. So trucks versus this plant, the carbon footprint is way lower than when we run our trucks and everything else that goes into that.
I think the other issue was, if we do start getting complaints, are you willing to have a discussion on revoking the permit?
Yes, we've got a good relation with all the neighbors there. We've had it in there prior to this and didn't have any complaints from them, but we've gone around to them, each one of them individually, and asked them if they had any concerns. We do have an air quality permit, so we will be monitored by the state's air quality. They'll hang a thing up in the corner of the pit and gather data from that. If the wind's blowing, it's strong, we don't crush. I mean, we just,
I think you've only had a couple complaints from the subdivision. Most of the complaints come from the neighbors just below the subdivision.
yeah, the subdivision down below has a lot of people are upset that they thought that was going to be
The hill.
access to the mountain from their backyard, right?
Careful what you say. I grew up right there.
Yeah, and I mean, and just that there was going to be some that was never going to be housing, and when it became housing, it created a lot of animosity with the neighbors below, and I think we worked through that with Eric and stuff pretty well.
I have to ask this question. Would you be willing to put up a different light pole? You know what I mean, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was at the time the light poles went in, it was during COVID, and we were trying to get completion on the subdivision. They were manufacturing those light poles.
The question is, would you consider using them on this and the remaining light poles in the subdivision?
Well, now we got to make it match, don't we?
No,
Okay.
you saved me a lot of grief.
We
know the
wanted
question.
we wanted to use the other light poles, but they weren't available, and we were getting a lot of pressure to try to get this closed out so we
I
could get an
understand.
inspection and get on that year calendar for our warranty.
I understand.
So yeah,
Okay.
we'll use different light poles.
Councilmember Pulver, I think you had your hand up.
I hopefully I remember the question I was about to ask, but so oh, that's what it was. So did we have, you said that Rock Crusher was there before, so this has been done here before, right? It was just bigger acreage, now it's smaller so that it's now has to have a variance.
We added the acreage requirement after the rock crusher.
Okay.
So
Okay.
So in this industry right now, there's only two of us with this capabilities to do this. Marriott, who
Is in the
has one
city,
now, and his 50 acres goes all the way up the mountain,
Mhm.
right? Us with trying to finish this project that you know, it would help us out a lot, and I think it'd be good for the city. So
Okay. Any other questions of the applicant? Councilmember Dalpaz.
You said you went around to the neighbors, an approximation of how many neighbors signed off?
so
on this?
everybody in the White Rock subdivision signed off on it.
So approximately how many people was that?
Did you say 5, Eric?
No. I have 7
7?
documents, but I counted 25.
Yeah, so there's
25 people have agreed?
25. So everybody in the White Rock subdivision, phase 1, phase 2 has signed off on this. There's lots up there that haven't sold, so
Council, that may be the proving issue if you decide to do that, that to get a waiver, all of the currently occupied homes have to sign off. I'm just saying you need something if you decide to make a variance here. You have to have something that you can, stand on when the other 5 or 10 come in. Okay, any other questions of the developer? Seeing none. Did you have a question?
No,
or
I
you
was
wanna
going
make a
to,
motion?
I was going to propose the.
Okay,
approval.
I would seek a motion then. Councilmember Severing, would you like to make a motion?
Yes, thank you, Mary. I move that we approve the acreage variance for the grading permit for a rock crusher at White Rock subdivision phase 4.
Could you add maybe the other conditions on there that we talked about? 6-month maximum time wait that could be
Sure.
subject to a renewal, and what was the other one? Oh, if we do get complaints, we have the right to revoke the permit.
Well, and this hinges on the fact that we get all of the neighbors to approve.
I think they have.
Right, no, but that's to add that on there so that,
7 in writing and the rest are probably verbal. So, but
well, but it's to get compliant, it's so that we're explaining why we're doing the variance, right? Okay.
Would you like to add those?
Absolutely.
Okay, consider those added.
Consider those requests added.
All right. Do we have a second to Councilmember Severing's motion?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Watson. Is there any further discussion? I do like the fact that you brought in the road thing, the carbon footprint and all those things, and I think that ought to be something we pay attention to. So, all right, we'll start with you, Councilmember Dalpaz.
yes.
Councilmember Pulver,
Yes.
Councilmember Watson,
Yes.
Councilmember Severing,
Yes.
Councilmember Barker.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously and the waiver is granted. Thank you. Okay, we'll now move on to item number 9. I believe Mr. Hess is online with us, John.
Yes, he's on.
Then we'll ask him to give us the input. I think this item's been before the council numerous times. The acquisition of the Weber County surplus property. Mr. Hess,
Yep, can you hear me?
we can.
Perfect. Thank you, Mayor and Council, and thanks for the opportunity to present remotely while we've had stomach flu come through the house. So try to save everybody in City Hall from enjoying what we've had going on the last few days.
Thank you.
Yeah. So with this item, this was actually approved by City Council on October 8th of 2024 and moved forward to the City Commission for decision. And they found 2 typos and the staff at the county felt uncomfortable just correcting the typos and moving them forward. We had several back and forth conversations on what the best way to do this was, but we decided that we would just go ahead and clear up the interlocal agreement and bring it back to you for a clean signature and then take it forward to the county for clean signature before purchasing it. So none of the terms have changed, but I will point out that in the agreement under items number 3 and items number 9, there was a discrepancy in the original agreement about the time frame for the city executing a public park. So it originally had said the city had 5 years with an option for a 5-year extension. And that's been simplified and cleaned up to just say that the city has 10 years after the date of the execution of the deed to open a public park to the public. And then that also still includes at minimum restroom facilities and a drinking fountain. That's in item 3. And then the conditions of conveyance in item 9 had a similar mistake. It was actually in item 9 that didn't have the additional 5 years. So everything's been made consistent. The city will have 10 years from the date of acquisition to do the park. Costs all remain the same. If the city does determine that this piece of property is not viable as a park space in the future, it would revert back to the county. And I'm happy to answer any other questions, but otherwise all of the terms of the agreement stay the same.
Okay, any further questions? Councilmember Watson.
Just to clarify, thank you for your efforts here. Sorry about the sickness as well. When you said we have 10 years, that's 10 years to finish the park, not 10 years until the park is open to the public. Is that correct? So could the public participate and enjoy that property as of now? I mean, whenever it was public before, it's public now, right?
It would be, yeah. It's interesting because this piece of property is on the northwest of Mason Cove, and there's the termination of a public road, and then there's a private section of property that we have an easement on, but isn't necessarily public from the upper end. From the southern end off of Mountain Road, there is a city-owned piece of property that touches this property. So speaking with our park superintendent and maybe public works director, we could work out a southern access to this property prior to 10 years if we wanted to create some sort of trail system or lookout or something else. I mean, it's a beautiful vantage point for the city. But I think that's kind of to be determined what our liability and risk is, knowing that it's really an unimproved piece of property that we're purchasing at this time for future park space.
Scott, I believe you indicated that connecting sewer and water, there's nearby connections that wouldn't be overly pressing, as I recall, too.
Correct. Yep. This gives the city more than just a public utility easement. We would own the property then, that connecting those utilities across the north, running east and west from Mountain Road up the hill would be much more viable.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Scott. I think this is just kind of some minor cleanup information. So with that, I think this is a motion to approve the acquisition of the Weber County surplus property, which is parcel 16-049-0133. Do we have a motion to approve that acquisition and the associated agreement?
So moved.
Thank you, Councilmember Pulver.
Second.
Councilmember Watson, second. Any further questions? Discussion. All right, Councilmember Dalpas?
Yes.
Councilmember Pulver?
Yes.
Councilmember Watson?
Yes.
Councilmember Severing?
Yes.
Councilmember Barker?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. We'll now have a brief discussion from Councilmember Dalpas regarding, I think the last couple of years we've participated with Utah Rivers Council on the rain harvest program. So Councilmember Dalpas, go ahead.
Yes, a representative from Utah Rivers Council reached out to me within the last month or so asking if North Ogden City would like to participate in this program again. I think it's been useful to the residents. It kind of came at a weird time for us where the last 2 years we were not dealing with any sort of drought at all. So it's kind of, it was good to conserve the water, but it probably wasn't as essential as some years. Right now we're sitting at, 75-ish or 80% snowpack in the Weber Basin area. And so who knows, depending on snowstorms throughout the end of the year, if we will be in more of a dire situation with water or not. But I think it would be nice to participate again. I'm not completely opposed to the idea of not. So I just wanted to just get a little bit of an indication from everyone if they would like to or not. The last couple of years, the cost to the city has been approximately $2,000 for 2 years in a row. So $2,000 one year, 2,000 the next year. In the back of my mind, I thought that we had just put this in the budget because we had a little bit of we didn't like to have to do an amendment last time. John, did you get a chance to look into that or?
We didn't have it. We don't have anything in the budget.
Okay. So if we went ahead with this, I'm guessing we'd have to do a budget amendment, or are there any other options?
I mean, a budget amendment would be the one, just because it'd probably fall under legislative or something like that.
Okay. So I don't think we need a big, long discussion on this. I just want to get a little bit of a indication from the council if you guys would like to participate in that or not.
Let me do that by a head shake. I think a couple things. One, the water conservation is actually secondary water, right?
Yeah.
So this would be saving Pine View.
Mhm.
And we know we've got a very tight budget year coming up. The staff knows that. So I think those are the two things that I would, as I asked for your head shake or not, is understanding that we do have a tight budget, would take a budget amendment. And the water conserve, we all want to conserve water, but it would be Pine View benefiting from the saving of the water. By shaking of the head, do you want to pursue this further? Do you want Councilmember Dalpez to pursue this?
I won't be offended.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
So there's no way that we can put it on next year's budget and not do a budget amendment, like sell them or however it works in July.
There's totally a way that we could put it in the budget through our budget process this year. Planning to do it next year, totally fine.
Yeah.
We can all have that discussion. That's what I thought. I seem
Didn't
to,
it come out of like stormwater or something? No?
I seem to remember
Dave
that we had I'm probably wrong, but I thought that we had talked about putting it, because I remember last year, it might have been you that had the concerns like, oh, we don't want to have to do a budget amendment for this small thing.
Mm.
And we had talked about putting it in the budget, but it also might have just slid our minds too.
Mm.
So anyways,
I think we're being told by our finance director and our city manager, it's not in the budget, so would take a budget amendment. You want Councilmember Barker to pursue, Dalpez to pursue that for this year? You want to wait and address it in the budget year?
Say next year.
I'm seeing some next years.
okay, let's plan on, I will respond to the Utah Rivers Council that we would like to potentially participate, but the residents would take on the full cost. So I will
Yeah.
have that discussion with them. We were essentially supplementing those rain barrels a little bit. So
Okay.
I'll let them know that they are welcome to participate in our city for the additional costs that it would cost our residents. And then let's have a more deep discussion during the
Budget.
budget cycle to see if we could throw this in
Okay.
next year.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to item number 11. Council, let me ask, is there anything pressing that you'd like to report this evening in regards to police, building and planning, and parks? If not, I know we have scheduled here right after public comments and the mayor council, we do have a closed meeting that will probably take some considerable discussion. But I do want to hear from you if you have anything that's significant you'd like to report.
Nothing
Councilman Sever.
overly, thank you, Mayor. Nothing overly significant, but I think it's important to mention for the citizens who may be watching that acquisition of that park area cost about what, 12,600? Okay, just so that the citizens realize that it was basically purchased for the tax sale. So $12,600 for a park is actually a pretty good price, right, Jamie?
For ground, yep. Yeah, Councilmember Walker, you had something you'd like to report?
Yeah, from Jamie in our Parks Department, they're planning on demoing Orton Park, hopefully within the next week, weather depending. So everyone that, if you're gonna go play on the playground at Orton Park, hurry and do it. But they should have it back in place and up and ready for the kids again by early spring. So
And I spent some time at a meeting the other day. Green Acres is also looking to revamp all their playground equipment. It's getting pretty old, and so I said that, I couldn't commit on behalf of the council, but that we do all we could to support the city because it is kind of used a lot by our citizens, even though it's school playground. So, okay. With that, then we'll seek public comments. Number 12 on our agenda. Is there anyone online or present here who would like to make a comment? If so, please step up to the podium. Tell us if you're a resident of North Ogden. And once again, do me a favor and keep your comments to 5 minutes or less.
Will do. Thank you, Mayor. My name's Zach Nicholas. This is my wife, Lauren Nicholas. We just moved into one of the new subdivisions where the border of Harrisville and North County or North Ogden basically goes through our yard. We love North Ogden and we're very happy with where we're at. We do have questions, however, in regards to the rapid development of this area in new subdivisions, apartments, things of that such. We were wondering about a specific piece of property that's basically an island, which was farmland for a long time, and I believe it's still zoned as agricultural. Really,
with Weber County.
yeah,
currently
it's
in the
a Weber
county.
County piece of property. But we had questions about annexation. When it's annexed to a city, is that notified to the residents? Yes, okay. And then as far as zoning goes, do the residents have any kind of say in the zoning of that property, or is that?
We're surely open to comments from the public, but that is an item that's determined by the city council, but we always like to hear from our residents. As you probably know, the state is putting a lot of pressure on cities right now for more increased dense type development and housing. We've tried to start emphasizing ownership instead of rental, and we'll continue to address that. But actually, there's been talk at the legislature that they will take over zoning of cities because they don't think cities are being as proactive in granting additional density. However, I think there's adequate pushback at this point in time in the legislature that they do still feel that's a local responsibility, but have made it known that if that responsibility is not taken on by the cities, they're more than happy to do so. But we do enjoy hearing from our citizens. Councilmember Barker?
are you in Montgomery Farms?
Yes.
That parcel I'm thinking is in Harrisville, so we have no say over it.
So it has been annexed.
No, but
It's in their annexation plan?
it's, with my other job, it's in Harrisville. If it's that great big field,
Yeah,
yep, it's in Harrisville.
okay.
Sorry, what does that mean? It's in Harris?
It will be in Harrisville.
It's in their annexation plan.
And there's been talks on development already as well, but
Okay.
I can't remember what it is.
Our city has a general plan that says future zoning if a property were to come into our city. And so I assume Harrisville does as well. And they could tell you what they assume it will be.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You could just look on their website at their general plan. That sometimes has a lot of information too.
It'll tell you what
Okay.
it's so.
I didn't see anything included in their general plan for that specific piece of property, but. I will dig
There's
it.
they have a plan. I'm trying to remember what it is, but
And council, just when annexation does occur, they're required to notify all property owners within a certain radius. And with this being in their backyard, they should
Did
definitely
receive
get a
notice.
notice from Harrisville. Yeah.
Thank you. That's
Thanks for coming. Come back again.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt to be proactive.
Okay, anyone else?
Philip Swanson, North Ogden City. Just one quick item tonight on the fines. It piqued my interest as there was conversation about there not being anything in the ordinance about how long we sit before we issue the next fine. I think it would be good clarification for the residents, and I think it would also strengthen our staff and our council's position if we went back and looked at those ordinances, set in and said, okay, you get your first one for something like a building permit, you've got 90 days to get that permit taken care of. That's when the next fine would occur. So just a thought. Thanks for all you
Okay,
do.
that's a good thought. Thank you. Anything else? Anyone online? I'm not seeing anyone.
One just popped up, Mayor.
Oh, and I did receive a message here, John, since you kind of control this. They'd like to get the cameras, those who are watching online. They'd like to try to get the cameras on those who are speaking so they know who's speaking if possible.
Okay.
So you did good on your last effort.
Okay.
Okay, we have someone whose hand is raised.
Susan Kilborn.
Ms. Kilborn?
Just me popping in, North Ogden City resident. I wanted to say congratulations to the young couple who were just at the podium, and welcome to the greatest little city in Utah. And how cool is that already you're showing up at city council meetings and providing input. So kudos to you. And my other comment is, guys and gals, don't forget Friday is Valentine's Day. Brush up your skills, get ready to pucker up with your loved ones, and have a great Valentine's Day.
Thank you. All right, we're on item number 13 now. We'll close public comments, seeing there are no further residents or participants who'd like to comment. Any further comments from council? Dave? Jamie? Ryan? Bryce? Lieutenant? Okay, I see none. Any from staff? I mean, from you, John?
Nope.
Any from the council?
One quick,
Councilmember
the Citizens Budget
Pulver.
Subcommittee is 19th of February is first day. So
Okay.
Jamie, before she leaves, she can do some more training.
You know, we had some other good applicants on the planning commission that wanted to participate. Might be well to inquire them too.
Alrighty then.
Get them familiar with the city. Okay, thank you. I have no comments. So with that, at this point in time, I would motion to adjourn this meeting to a closed meeting for reasons permitted under Utah Code annotated 52-4, 205, paragraph 1 regarding the character, professional competence, or physical or mental health of an individual. I would invite those who are here to exit the room. If you'd like to stay around for however long it takes, you would be welcome to come back as we re-adjourn the meeting and then adjourn the meeting.
Mayor, motion to adjourn to a closed meeting for reasons under code 52-4-205.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of adjourning this meeting to a closed meeting? Please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay, thank you.
Do we move to the